cracking, people? It's your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians, operating globally and beyond. So listen, today I was having a conversation with one of my lady friends, and the subject of feminism came up. And I don't think I've talked about this particular subject, at least at length, in this space. But I do go into it in different portions of my book, The Seduction Scriptures. And I'm actually going to quote a couple of sections in this particular discussion today. But what I wanted to first start by saying is that for me, and I know for a lot of other men who would be categorized in a select category, or just men who enjoy the company of a diverse sort of group of women, you're going to encounter a lot of women who claim the feminism banner at some degree of variance, especially if you engage with a lot of college-age women, a lot of professional women who are operating at some capacity within the educational system, master's level, doctorate level, professors, and what have you. You're going to encounter women who identify with the, I would say, sort of original principles of feminism. And to that end, they're going to test you, constantly test what your stance is as a man, and more specifically as a masculine man, because we know, in the select manosphere, the promotion of masculinity is in line with the foundational principles of this space. Masculinity, your personality or charisma, and your body, your physicality. So one of the first things that I established, or just put out there when I engage with a woman who identifies as a feminist out the gate, is I say this thing, and you can take this with you. I say this: men are not the standard by which real women should be judged by. Let me say it again. Men are not the standard by which real women should be judged by. What do I mean by that? Well, most men in this space already know what I mean when I say that. But why would I say that to a woman who wears the banner of feminism? Well, because if at its core base of principles, feminism seeks to elevate and empower women via professional, educational, through laws, so that their lives can be made better, their lives can be quote unquote freer, or opened up to more opportunities to explore their different talents, their different gifts, their different abilities vocationally, then one would be wise to look at what that means as a woman and not necessarily as a man. Because obviously throughout history, we have been given the tools and the components and all of the blueprints to an extent about what it means to be a resource provider, about what it means to be a protector of things, an environmental protector, which are key roles that society assigns value to in terms of being a man, okay? Provider, protector, okay? What about what it really means to be a valuable woman? And that is sort of at the crux of any real conversation that you can have with a woman who you are entertaining, who you're interacting with, who may present a varied degree or variation of the banner of feminism. Now, don't get me wrong, gentlemen. I realize that a lot of you have had these conversations, and one of the first things that women offer in response to you presenting the foundational tenets of manhood is that, oh, well, anything a man can do, a woman can do, and even in her own way or better. Well, what does that look like? Well, we've seen what that looks like when women try to prove that they can do all the things that men can do and make it look like it's a woman's doing. It's basically a copy of what men are doing or what men have established or what men have done. Is that the best that a woman can do? That's at the core of the conversation. Women are so much better at being women than men could ever be. And that's okay. And as a matter of fact, I even take it a step further and say that that is what should be celebrated. You see, if you have your copy of the Seduction Scriptures, turn to the glossary. I am very careful and thoughtful and very deliberate to define what, one, feminism is in the context of seduction, meaning in the modern space of man gets woman or, boy meets girl. This is one term that I wanted to make sure is defined when we use it in this context. Also, I wanted to make sure that I had clear definitions for what feminine is and also what masculine is. And I'm careful to point out the differences and the fact that they are interdependent. And what happens is a lot of people who are caught up in what's trendy about empowerment or perceived empowerment, or what's trendy about gender roles, or what's trendy about what it means to be a woman, or what it means to be a man, will often go out of their way in order to avoid defining specifically what these terms and concepts are and should be in terms of having a meaningful conversation about how these elements are expressed. And that is the basis for why you are getting with a person or why you're seeking out a person to begin with. And that's uncomfortable because not enough people are having those conversations. The why, what's the result at the end of the day? Why are a lot of institutions projecting certain narratives about gender roles, about what a perceived construct could be, and not necessarily about the reality of what gender in terms of the natural male and female expressions of our primary biological systems. Gentlemen, you cannot break it down or reduce it further than that. Now we're at the basis of our biology as humans, with primal imperatives, with urges, with desires, with attraction, and that's okay. What you're doing when you have conversations with people, and primarily women, who have certain thoughts and certain opinions that mirror that of the greater society and those programmers of the greater society, what you're establishing is that, hey, as a man who is learning the skill sets of seduction, I'm not seducing a construct. I'm not seducing an experimental, socially engineered, politically correct non-woman. No. I'm a masculine man projecting my masculine energy to bring out the feminine woman that I know exists under all those layers. And that, gentlemen, is what cuts straight through all of those filters, all of the masks, all of those constructs that a lot of women have that are really just bullshit shit tests to, swat away men who aren't capable of reaching that space within them. And so I want to quickly go over these definitions for those who are just listening and who aren't seeing on the screen. I have these pages displayed. So first, we'll go over what the definition, according to the Seduction scriptures, of feminism is. And so it simply states, feminism, a movement aimed at the empowerment of women via laws, statutes, and social activism. Now, I won't go to the section of the book that references feminism, but those who have a copy of the book, go to page 112, which is the section Who She Is, 601 verse 6, and it really sort of highlights what the position is from the perspective of a seducer in that account. Now, look at the definition of feminine. And so the last two definitions, I think, are the most important ones that drive home this point. First, feminine, being or possessing elements that are associated with female, such as being demure, pragmatic, agreeable, fluid, and the interdependent opposite of that which is masculine. Very clear, very direct. But like I said before, I want it to be that way so that I can draw the reader's attention to what the goal of being a masculine man, a masculine seducer, at the end of the day truly is to bring out the feminine element and energy and essence and aspect in the woman that you're seeking to seduce. And lastly, let's go to masculine. And what that looks like is this: being or possessing elements that are associated with male, such as being active, decisive, judicious, immutable, and the interdependent opposite of that which is feminine. Gentlemen, at the end of the day, the most important thing to keep in mind when we're talking about socially interacting for the purpose of attracting, arousing, and ultimately seducing a desirable woman, you have to keep in mind what it means to be a man. You have to keep in mind the goal of attracting a feminine woman. With those simple points in mind, a lot of the other nuanced sort of interactions between when you start and when you reach your goal become extremely clear. Select men, pre-select men, non-select men. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, this is your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying, stay sharp and mission focused. Later.